The views and opinions of the guests of Veterans Archives do not reflect the views and opinions of Veterans Archives, its subsidiaries, or its partners. Hello and welcome to Veterans Archives. This is a podcast where you can learn about our military history in the words and voices of the men and women who lived and created it. I'm your host, Bill Krieger, and let's listen to our next story.
Today is July 27th, 2003. We are here today with Fred Koski in Brighton, Michigan. How are you doing today, Fred?
I'm doing well.
Okay, well, you have a beautiful home. You have a beautiful yard. You have a lot of shade. Looks like you like to let things grow or keep things growing. So today we're going to talk a little bit about your military service and some of the reasons that you joined, some of the people that were impacted, and just kind of give us an outline of what your story was in all your military experience. Does that sound good?
That's fine. I'll be fine.
Okay, so where are you originally? Like, where were you born?
I was born in Belleville, Michigan, which is not too far from here. It's south, probably about 70 miles south. Actually, I was born at Briar Hospital in Ypsilanti, but I lived in Belleville, Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what year was that?
1948.
1948. Okay. And were your parents from there? Or
Yes. The house that we had was built on my father's parents' farm, so it was in Belleville.
Okay. So what high school did you go to?
Belleville High School. I went to St. Anthony's Catholic School, which is right next to the high school, and then after 8 years, I moved over to the high school and graduated from there.
Was that the Detroit Catholic League? So I went to Lumen Christi, and I believe
that doesn't sound familiar to me.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, there was a Detroit Catholic League when I was growing up. But so, did you have any siblings?
Yes, I have two. Well, I have two sisters, and I had three brothers. One of my brothers passed away, so I have four living siblings.
Okay. And how close in age were they to you?
My brother that passed away was like 2 years from me, okay, and then the rest of them are about 2 or 3 years apart. So,
okay. Are you still pretty close with them today?
Yeah, I see them quite often. Yeah. One lives down in Alabama right now. He's been there for a number of years, but I've been down there to see him. And my other sisters live in Chelsea, and one brother lives in Dexter.
Dexter?
Yes.
Okay. And were you guys involved in any sports growing up, or?
I ran track during high school. That's probably all I did. Yeah.
What did you run in track?
440.
440. And when's the last time you ran?
A long time ago.
Long time ago? Okay.
I'm doing real good to walk fast nowadays.
Okay. So were any of your parents in the military or family members?
No, my father had a heart condition, so he couldn't get in. So, and none of my other siblings were in the service. I'm the only one that was in.
Okay. What did your parents do?
My dad was a tool and die maker. My mother, she just worked at home.
Like stay at home mom.
Took care of the kids.
Okay. That's fairly uncommon today. My wife's probably the only one that does that I know. But so what year did you join the military?
I joined in August of 66.
August of 66?
Yes, that's when I went to boot camp.
Okay, and what made you join? What was
Vietnam War? I had aunts and uncles, or mainly uncles, that were in service during World War II, and just something we had pride in doing. I mean, if it came up, I did anyway. Always wanted to be in the service, and that's when I joined the Marine Corps.
Okay. Did you shop around, or did you just?
No, that's when I went right to the Marine Corps recruiter. And he tried to talk me into doing 4 years, but I only went in for 3. So.
Okay. So you're a recruiter's dream. You walked right. I was a recruiter, so when we had somebody who walked in and already knew that they wanted to do it and they were qualified, that's a recruiter's dream. So
Yeah, he had a story. He tried to get me to do 4, but I still stuck to my guns and only went in for 3.
okay. So did you do what MOS did you do? 03?
I was 0311
Okay.
infantry.
That's pretty common. And you did a 3-year stint, and you went to basic training.
Yes.
What recruiting office was that?
It was in Wayne, downtown Wayne.
Downtown Wayne.
Right.
Do you remember your
It was in the
recruiter's name?
post office. No, that was a long time ago. In fact, I
Okay.
probably don't even know if he told me his name. It's been so long ago.
Okay. Do you remember what MEPS you went to?
What?
Military Enlistment Processing Station,
Oh, Fort Wayne.
Fort Wayne.
Right.
Yeah. So like it's like a post now,
Well, it's Fort Wayne. For the area is kind of a museum. It used to be a museum
Yep.
downtown.
Yep.
And that's where we went for processing.
It overlooks the Detroit
Right.
River.
It's on the river, yes.
Yeah, so I've been there. And it's a pretty cool place. It's got it's all like stone and everything like that.
Yeah, I barely remember. I didn't get time to look it over. They just took us in the building and went through what they had to do.
Okay. So you went through Fort Wayne, and then where'd you go to basic training at?
I went to in San Diego.
San Diego.
Yeah, MCRD San Diego.
So what did that stand for? MCR.
Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you stay in like an open bay barracks or?
We had Quonset huts.
Okay. Can you kind of describe them for me?
A Quonset hut is a metal building that's kind of formed like half a circle, or it goes from ground to ground with a metal roof, and then it's built inside. Just an area of bunks, probably 30 people in each building.
Okay. Did you have like a wall locker? Do you have a foot locker?
We had a foot locker.
Foot locker, and what all went in your foot locker, and about what size was it?
Foot locker was probably 3 feet by 2 feet, maybe. I'm guessing at it by just off the top of my head, and probably a foot and a half high, or foot high.
And how much stuff did you have to put in there?
We had our uniforms, our utility type uniforms in there, and our toiletries and stuff like that. We didn't have a whole lot. They gave us the basics, and that was it. We didn't. I don't think we kept our dress uniforms. We really didn't have any dress uniforms for quite a while. So mainly gear to do exercises and PT and all that kind of craziness that we did over there.
Personal hygiene.
Yeah, personal hygiene stuff.
Yeah. Did you get foot locker inspections?
Oh yeah, there were always inspections. That's Marine Corps, or even the training was between the exercises and that type of military training. We had a lot of inspections to make for sure we took orders well and didn't lose. I don't know. We didn't. Just so that we took orders well. That's all I can think of at this point.
Mm-hmm. So did you have to have a crease in your bunk and?
Oh yeah, where they made
blanket.
the bunk. They told us how to do it. Mm-hmm. They came in and inspected each time. Everybody did it right. So there was a lot of inspections in those days, just to make sure we were mainly, like I said, we took orders and we did what they wanted us to do.
Okay. So when something was out of place or dirty, what happened? Did you do push-ups?
Oh yeah. Well, and it wasn't only one person. They'd usually kind of punish the whole group instead of one.
Punishment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those. So when you went to basic training, what was your biggest biggest change, or what do you remember that was like the hardest thing to overcome, like right off the bat when you got there?
Let's take a quick break.
Veterans Archives is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we rely on donations from our listeners. If you are enjoying these stories and would like to support our continued efforts, please go to www.veteransarchives.org and select the donate button. Thank you.
Oh, you're talking quite a few years ago, so it's, I can remember the reveille going off in the morning and having to jump out of bed right away, and just that drive to just to be in, take orders. I mean, just be ready to do whatever they wanted you to do. You kind of lost your sense of freedom in yourself, and you were being, I would not say manipulated, but more or less training you to not use your individual self, but to follow a team.
Yep.
So I don't know how the military is now. I hear different stories, but they were kind of rough on us. But it was, when I got out, I remember it was well worth it.
So when you got up, what was your day like when you would get up? Like what do you remember what time that was and what happened right after you got up?
Well, I think most of the time was kind of around 5 o'clock in the morning, and then you get up as soon as the reveille bugle sounded when reveille went off. And if I remember right, you went to the heads, to the bathrooms, and got cleaned up for the day, and then you had a certain time you had to fall in line, and then they march you off to chow, and you come back.
Did you do like physical fitness?
Oh, we did a lot of physical fitness. Yeah, that's
first thing in the morning.
That's basically what physical fitness was. To make sure everybody's in pretty much the same shape.
Mm-hmm. Did your running in high school help you in basic training?
I don't know. Back then I was quite young, and I don't know, running. I didn't feel it was anything different. I mean, whatever running we did was just something I always did. So, I didn't. I lived in a country area and was always out. And I don't know about nowadays, but we played in the woods and and ran around like that. So it wasn't much different.
Yeah, but Belleville is pretty built up nowadays.
Yeah, it's changed quite a bit. Yes.
I haven't been there in probably 15 years, but it was some farm fields, but it was still pretty busy. Mm-hmm. So you went through basic training. You're 0311 infantry, and when you graduated, was there anybody in basic training that you remember that, like, was there a drill sergeant? Was there a comrade, fellow Marine that helped you get through, or somebody you would say made a big impact on your time spent at basic training?
I don't know. There was one drill sergeant that stood out from the rest. I mean, he seemed like he was a younger guy. He was a small black guy, and he was kind of comical, but yet he was firm in how he made things known. So he stuck out in my mind. I can't even remember his name, but other than that, I mean, we were all pretty much in the same, wanting to be the Marines, and I never know anybody that was trying to shrug the job or get away from it. That's what they were there for. That's why they joined.
Mm-hmm. So after basic training, what happened? Where'd you go after basic training?
After that, I came home for a short time, leave, and then we went to ITR, is what they call Infantry Training Regiment, out of Camp Pendleton. And
Camp
I
Pendleton
can't
is
remember.
where?
It's north of San Diego, along the ocean.
So California?
Yeah, it's in California. Yeah,
Okay.
California. And I was infantry training regiment, and we went through all the weapons and weapons training and learning how to tear the rifles down to all the different weapons that they had.
What weapon did
The M14 is what we used at that time as a rifle. I fired the flamethrowers that they had from World War II. We did bazookas. We did quite a few different weapons, mortars. I mean, we got to do a lot of that stuff. Touch base on pretty much because everybody was the same thing at that point. They were 0311, but after that, they might infantry training. Then they would change MOSs and put them in different groups like mortarmen or whatever after that training. So we got a good touch of what was going on.
So I don't know. So I really want to know. So the flamethrower. So obviously, when you go to like a rifle range, you're shooting at a target, and if you hit, you're for us it would go down, or it would be a piece of paper. With the flamethrower, when you use that, like what did you aim at?
They had looked like a wooden sign. Just when you hit it, so when you shut it off, the thing would be on fire. So that was kind of cool. I had a bunch of wood, if I remember right, and they put the big tanks on your back, kind of like scuba tanks, and then you had a striker in your hand, and you turn this thing, and the striker would go off, and you pull the trigger, and it pushed back, and the heat from it would just, scare the heck out of you.
Yeah, I bet.
We had that. We also did the gas chamber where we had to go in and test gas masks and see how they worked, and do all that with the different. I forget what the gas was. Tear gas, I guess it was. Yeah, they had them do us with the gas mask on, and then we took the gas mask off, so we experienced the fun, gagging and all that kind of thing. So.
Yep, gagging and snot.
Yeah, snot coming out of your nose, your eyes running. Yeah.
They say if you had a cold going in there, you didn't have one coming out.
You didn't have much of anything when you came out. Yeah, it was interesting. But that's all that went on with all the different training. We went to a rifle range and qualified from there. And after that, I went to what they called staging battalion. That was to get you ready to go to Vietnam. So. And that was in the same base, just a different location.
So it kind of like a replacement. They call it replacement.
I was sent in as a replacement,
okay.
Training as a replacement. But while I was there, in fact, just pretty much after the training of the staging battalion was over and we were going to get our shots and get ready to go, I got orders out of there to go to the 1st Military Police Battalion. They were forming a new battalion. And so I kind of skated that thing as a replacement and went over with a brand new battalion, all trained as military police. I was a military police they didn't change my MOS, but we were classified as military police, but when we got to Vietnam, we were kind of a security unit. We had 2 large bridges in Da Nang we guarded, and we did river patrols, and we didn't do any kind of MP stuff. We were just, that was our name, 3rd MPs.
Okay. So, from there, did you go to, like, when did you go to Vietnam? Do you remember the year and date?
I went over there in, it was in 1967. I think it was like May of 1967. Went over by ship on the USS McGoffin. That took probably 20 days to get there.
Oh, wow. What'd you stay in when you were traveling on the ship?
They had this was a troop carrier, so they had areas that we had a whole battalion on there, so all our trucks and everything was on the ship, and they had certain areas in the ship. We were up towards the bow and the bottom. They had areas they were like bunks stacked 5 high. It was quite interesting, and I always said if they were going to bring me back by ship, I was going to stay there because I wouldn't do that again. Yeah, that was pretty rough.
I've seen movies with that, and like I just look at it, and there's just so many people in one room, and you're saying 5 high.
It's like a big bay, and they had these racks that were kind of like those things you hang outside, and they were made of canvas. Yeah. Strung between a metal frame, and they were stacked from the bottom, from the floor, 5 high. And then everybody had their bunks assigned, and that's where you would be. You'd have a couple people under you or a couple people over you. But it was a large bay from one side of the ship to the other side of the ship. I don't know, there might have been 100 people in there, and there were a couple different areas across the ship like that.
Did you have like a foot locker or anything like that while you were there, or just live out of your bag?
No, we had lived out of a sea bag is more or less how we did that, yeah.
Okay, and a sea bag, is that the same as a duffel bag?
Yeah, duffel bag. Sea bag, yeah, duffel bag. We call them sea bags.
Okay. And so while you were traveling over there, did you guys stop and swim? I only asked
we didn't do that. We stopped in Pearl Harbor in Hawaii for maybe a day, and they loaded the ship again with food. We got off the ship probably long enough to get drunk and stupid, and hopefully we were sobered up enough by the time we got on there to be clear-headed by the time we got on the water, because when you were on the water, you didn't want to have a hangover, so that was pretty nasty.
Because of the waves.
And then we went from there to Subic Bay in the Philippines, in that harbor, and did the same thing over again. And from there we went to Da Nang Harbor, got off there off the ship.
So 20 days, you stopped in Pearl Harbor, stopped in the Philippines, and got drunk, which has not changed. I just got out, just retired less than a year ago, and it's still the same today. Nothing has changed. So when you got to Vietnam, what was the place again?
Da Nang.
Da Nang.
Yeah.
And what part of Vietnam was that?
That's about the center of the South Vietnam.
Okay. And was that like a main staging area for Vietnam?
Well, that's where we were. Well, Da Nang Harbor is where a lot of the ships come in, and I don't know anything about where the other people would go, but our bridges that we had to guard were in just outside of Da Nang, so that's the closest area I think they would have got us to. But it was a big harbor. I mean, they took us in with landing craft from the ship to the beach. There wasn't no beach. It was more like the city,
So what was the feeling? Do you remember what was going through your head when you pulled up to that?
Well, we didn't know what was going on. I mean, we didn't know where we were going or what we were going to do. When we got to shore, I mean, we were in the city, so there was no war going on when we got there. I mean, the war was going on, but where we were is in the city. There was no battling. We didn't have to get off and fight where we were. We just got off of there and loaded all our gear on trucks, and then they took us out to the areas in the countryside. We went to a temporary base. I think it was close to what they called Hill 327. It was one of the numbers I remember. We stayed there for a couple of days, and then they moved us out to 5th Com Battalion, and we stayed in there, shared their camp with them. It was outside the San Juan River, is where our bridges were.
Okay, the San Juan River. And What was there anybody that you were with during that time that you remember?
Yeah, in fact, I still am in touch with a number of the guys. Alan Baugh, now he's living in Washington State. He was here in Michigan. He used to live in, no, I can't remember right now offhand, but he lives out there in Washington State. There's another guy that I call, he lives in Virginia. I'm in contact with a number of across the country. So we still email back and forth.
Okay. And how many locations were you in Vietnam? Was there any?
I was in Da Nang, and then I got last 4.5 months I was there. They sent me up to Dung Ha, and Dung Ha was kind of like 12 miles south of the GMC. So that was a little interesting spot.
So did it get?
Well, I tell you, I wasn't in the military police. Military police belonged to the FLC, Force Logistics Command. They were like the ones that, like if you had truck drivers or you had play there, that was in that group. So they sent me up north and they stuck me in a fire department, and I was kind of like a volunteer fireman. Mm-hmm. It was a pretty rough place, and when they shelled the place, things were on fire, so we'd have to go out and put them out. Mm-hmm. And it was quite interesting.
Okay. Okay. So after that, where did you head to?
Well, from there, I actually stayed there till my tour was over, and brought me back home. And then I went to Camp.
On a ship?
No, they brought me back by plane. I wasn't coming back by ship. I went to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and I had some medical issues with my hearing at that point, so they couldn't keep me in an infantry unit, so they stuck me in 2nd Marine Division, 2nd Service Battalion, and they stuck me in a supply group. So until I got out.
So that was at Camp Lejeune?
Yes.
And how long were you in after?
I was probably there 8 months.
8 months.
I got totally out of the service.
As a supply. So when you got out, was it just your tour was up, and what was the reason you got out?
My tour was up. Before I left Vietnam, they tried to convince me to stay, and they were going to give me rank, and I said, "No, I ain't staying here, so I'm coming home." So that's where I went. And then I was in Lejeune, like I said, and they kept me in a supply area where I worked in an office, and I really hated that, but they weren't going to send me out in the field anymore. So I got out of there, and after 8 months, and came home.
So the reason to not enlist or re-enlist was you just didn't want to go back to Vietnam?
Well, they were sending them back, and I wasn't going to go back.
Okay. I would have done the same thing.
I mean, I'm in the ground in a bunker, and they're trying to convince me to stay. I'm not under these conditions. I wasn't. Maybe if they sent me back to Da Nang, I might have changed my mind, but they were done with me there.
So what? So you talked about people you were in Vietnam with. Is there anyone else besides those individuals that you communicate with or that made an impact while you were in? They don't have to be in the military either. It could have been like a friend that wrote you letters or.
No, I don't. I'm kind of a private person now. I don't really have a lot of friends, or I don't know where that all comes from, but that's where I am now. So I don't really have. Like I said, I talk to those people that I know online. That's just about all.
Okay. So what did you do when you got out?
I got out, and of course, I got married, and I got a job with the Michigan Bell telephone company.
Okay.
I worked there for 30 years and 4 months. Retired from there. I started a handyman business, and I worked for that for 13 years. I didn't really. I just kind of wanted to do it. I didn't really look forward to make any money at it. I made enough money to make it work, but I just wanted to try it. So I worked at that 13 years, and then I quit doing that. And I worked for some lady up here in Brighton to repairing furniture for a while, just for something to do. And then I got away from that. And now I'm hanging out here. Belong to the Marine Corps League, and I'm the chaplain in charge. And we do military funerals.
Okay. And so how long have you been doing the Marine Corps League?
17 years. 17
years?
Yeah. I originally was going to go in there. I wanted to join. I was looking for something more like a self-therapy kind of thing to just try to straighten out some problems. And so I went to join the Marine Corps League, and my key was to be in the honor guard for 5 years or so, and I figured that should help me out enough. But I got involved more and more in it, so now I'm stuck there 17 years. I'm the chaplain. Nobody else wants to be chaplain, so I'm still a chaplain. So.
And when you started out, how many services did you do roughly a year, would you say?
Yeah, we actually, when I started out, we do like 120 to 150 now. When I was there, we did more. I was with an older group of World War II veterans. They all passed away since then. But there was a lot of the World War II vets that were passing away at that time. So we did I'd say maybe a quarter more. I mean, we were busy all the time. It's kind of slowed down after a while. Actually, now it's starting to pick up more. We're getting more of the 90-year-old World War II vets are going. So we do that a lot.
Mm-hmm. And you work at Great Lakes National Cemetery once a month?
Yeah, we have a scheduled day, a third Monday of the month. We go up and whatever they have on the schedule for that day, that's what we'll do.
Okay.
We usually do about maybe 10 at the most, maybe 11.
And what's your favorite thing about doing that?
Well, like I said, originally I got into do a therapy thing, and then after a while it kind of changed because I found out that it's awful hard for veterans to get that in a lot of places in this country, to be able to even have honors. And I'm kind of determined to keep it up until somebody's doing mine. So
good. That's awesome. I know that when I started doing funerals, like we sometimes will go out to do like a 2-man is what we would call it, which isn't as good as if like the Marine Corps League would come out and fire the rifles or say the speech. And I think it's awesome when they do that. It's better. It's a bad situation for the family, but we're giving them the best situation we can possibly give them in a time of mourning. So thank you for what you do. And if anybody's listening to this conversation, what would you like them to take away from the conversation?
Well, my time in the military, of course, is something proud that I experienced, and I wouldn't have changed it for anything, even though at times it causes me some grief. But my head right now is in with military honor guard, and my wishes are that there are could be more veterans out there of my age bracket, and I'm 75. Or, I mean, you start at 65, but you got to be fully retired in order to do it. According to the government, military honors consist of 2 uniformed military from whatever branch of service they are. But rifle volleys are extra, and I do know from talking to families that they are appreciative of that also, to add to it, makes it a nicer ceremony. So I wish that more of you would get out and get involved. It takes a lot of time, a lot of hours to belong to this, and it's just something that isn't going to stop. There are a lot of veterans who need those honors. So
I agree.
That's where my head's at.
Yep, and I've seen you guys in action. You guys do an amazing job, and we really appreciate what you do. It does add a ton to the service overall to have all of us work together and do that.
Yes.
So, Fred, I really appreciate your time today. It was amazing getting to hear your story, and I wish you the best of luck, and I'm sure we're going to see each other again eventually.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Veterans Archives, the podcast that brings you the story of the men and women who have created and lived our military history. If you or someone you know served in the military and would like to share your story with Veterans Archives, please go to www.veteransarchives.org, select the Apply Now button, and fill out our application, and someone will get right back with you. Veterans Archives is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we rely on the donations of our listeners. If you are enjoying these stories and you support our efforts, please go to www.veteransarchives.org and select the Donate button. Any donation is certainly appreciated. Look for Veterans Archives on your favorite social media. We are on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Just look for Veterans Archives. Like, follow, and share our page. We'd certainly appreciate it. If you or someone you know is a veteran and you are struggling with mental health issues, please dial 988 and select option 1 for the Veterans Crisis Hotline. Please be sure to tune in next time for the next episode of Veterans Archives.